Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to call to order our May 7th meeting of the Mountlake Terrace City Council. And we'll begin with a flag salute, then roll call.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have roll call, City Clerk? Thank you.
Councilmember Doyle.
Present.
Councilmember Matsumoto Wright. Councilmember Murray.
Present.
Councilmember Page.
Present.
Councilmember Sonmore. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Wall.
Here.
And Mayor Woodard.
Accounted for. All right, we're going to move to any late changes in the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two things to mention here. First, items 10 and 11 on your agenda this evening, we would like to just swap. So Sergey and Jeff aren't playing musical chairs when they come up to present to you. We can have Sergey just come up and stay for both presentations that she's a part of this evening. If that's okay with council?
Council?
Okay, thank you. Second item I wanted to mention, we have tonight, we've talked a little bit about this, the Better Public Meetings Initiative that we're kicking off this evening, and this project is a collaboration between the city, the National Civic League, and Perfect City, and our goal is to enhance official public meetings and improve civic engagement based on feedback. So we'll have a QR code up on the screen here, and some of the flyers have been handed out tonight. If you could just take a moment and scan that QR code and then provide your input. The scorecard is voluntary, it's anonymous, and lets you evaluate and provide feedback on this meeting. The scorecard is powered by ActiVote, and ActiVote is a nonpartisan voter education and survey tool. At the end, you can choose to share your address with ActiVote or not, and not only does this identify relevant election information for you, but it also helps partners understand community perspectives at the neighborhood level. All data is anonymized in accordance with ActiVote's privacy policy, and personal information is not shared with anyone. We will be collecting feedback about civic engagement over the coming months, resulting in an in-person community forum in September to evaluate and improve our public meetings. And thank you, and that's all I have.
Outstanding. We will move to general public comment.
No one has signed up to comment online or in person.
Okay, we shall keep it moving forward, and we'll move to the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda. Put that out to the council. We have Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve the consent agenda items A, B, and C.
We have a motion on the table. See Councilmember Murray.
Second.
Have a second. We have first and a second. We have any discussion? Seeing none, go to the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That sounded 7. Moving forward. Thank you so much. This is an exciting time. Once again, it's welcome to be back. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We have 4 proclamations today and a graduation, amongst another number of other important conversations, but this one is with the community, so it's always just super exciting. I'm going to read the first one, which is for Jewish Heritage Month, and I invite the Jewish Federation of Greater Seattle to join me at the podium where it says public comments there. So you have a couple minutes here to read after I read to you. All right. City of Mountlake Terrace Proclamation, Jewish American Heritage Month. Whereas May is Jewish American Heritage Month, a great opportunity to celebrate the important contributions of religious and ethnically Jewish Americans, the first group of Jews arrived here in 1654 when 23 Jewish people, fleeing persecution at the hands of the Portuguese Inquisition, fled Brazil and found refuge in New Amsterdam, now New York City. And whereas since that time, several waves of Jewish immigrants have arrived in the United States from various parts of the world, representing the rich diversity of Jewish traditions and communities, and whereas the United States has long served as a haven for Jewish people escaping oppression in search of liberty, justice, and tolerance, And whereas Jewish people have also been great advocates for other minorities and their rights in America. For example, they participated in the civil rights movement, having showed up at the voter registrations, rallies, sit-ins, and much, much more. And whereas the Jewish American community has grown to over 6 million people, representing approximately 2% of the population of the United States in 2024, and whereas Washington State has a large and active Jewish community that has been part of its history for over 150 years, and today Jews comprise up to 2 to 4% of the total greater Seattle area population, where they have played an important role in the city's political, business, civic, and cultural life to this present day. And whereas the city of Mountlake Terrace recognizes the importance of fostering understanding and respect among all members of our community and encourages residents to learn about Jewish history, culture, and traditions while standing together against anti-Semitism and all forms of hate. Now, therefore, I, Steve Woodard, on behalf of the Mountlake Terrace City Council, do hereby proclaim May as Jewish American Heritage Month, proclaimed by the City Council May 7, 2026. Thank you so much, and you are welcome to have some words.
Thank you, Mayor Woodard and the Mountlake Terrace City Council. I am Regina Sassoon Friedland, Regional Director of American Jewish Committee, AJC. On behalf of the organization and the Jewish community, I'm grateful to accept this declaration recognizing May as Jewish American Heritage Month. This recognition matters every year, but this year, as our country prepares to mark the 250th anniversary of the United States, it feels especially meaningful. The Jewish story in America is not separate from an American story. It is woven into it. Jewish Americans have helped build our cities, serve our country, strengthen our democracy, advance civil rights, support the arts, create businesses, care for neighbors, and give back to the communities that we call home. And from the beginning, America offered a promise that was extraordinary in world history, that Jews would not merely be tolerated, but would belong. In 1790, President George Washington wrote to the Hebrew congregation in Newport, Rhode Island. In that letter, he said that the United States gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance. He went on to describe a country where people of all faiths could live safely under their own vine and fig tree, with none to make them afraid. That promise has often been realized, and generations of American Jews have found safety, opportunity, and belonging in this country. But today, that promise is being tested in ways we cannot ignore. Rising anti-Semitism, growing extremism, and the normalization of hatred are threatening the sense of security that every community deserves. America's promise remains powerful, but it depends on people and leaders who are willing to defend it clearly, consistently, and without hesitation. Jewish American Heritage Month reminds us that America is strongest when it lives up to its highest ideals. It reminds us that pluralism is not just a nice idea. It is a civic responsibility. It is how we build trust across communities. It is how we make sure that every person can bring their full identity into public life. Here in Mountlake Terrace, this declaration sends a clear message. Jewish history is American history. Jewish belonging is part of the story of Mountlake Terrace, and standing against anti-Semitism is part of standing for the inclusive, democratic promise of this country. Thank you for honoring Jewish American Heritage Month and for helping carry that promise forward as we approach America's 250th birthday. Thank you.
You're also welcome to invite folks up. Yeah, you see our council member there. Hello, sir. I didn't see you. Were you there the whole time? Sorry about that. Always on a blurry vision. we got one more, sorry. You know this, Council. Get in there. That's all nice. We knew. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Our next proclamation is ALS awareness. And I believe, actually, the mayor, sorry, the mayor, here we are.
You can all stand right here. So how this came about for ALS Awareness Month is a citizen of Mountlake Terrace who is dealing with this in her family right now. Her name is Janice Halvo, and she just wanted to have the world know about what ALS is and what it does to families. She can't be here because it's hard for her to get away. And so I wanted to present it to someone, and I had a coworker who ended up with ALS, and this is his family right here. And our office really understood what the problems with having a family member go through this, and we saw it firsthand. And you know, I'm here because I learned a lot from your dad. And so I'm going to read the proclamation tonight for oh boy, am I supposed to say this? Can I just say ALS? Yes. ALS Awareness Month. Whereas, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive fatal neurodegenerative disease in which a person's brain loses connection with their muscles, slowly reducing a person's ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. And whereas thousands of new amyotrophic lateral ALS cases are reported every year, and estimates show that every 90 minutes, someone is diagnosed with ALS and someone passes away from ALS. And whereas, on average, patients diagnosed with ALS survive only 2 to 5 years from the time of diagnosis. And whereas, the exact causes of ALS are unknown and there is no cure for ALS. And whereas, people who have served in the military are more likely to develop ALS and die from the disease than with those with no history of military service. And whereas securing access to new therapies, durable medical equipment, and communications technologies is of vital importance to the people living with ALS, and whereas clinical trials play a pivotal role in evaluating new treatments, enhancing quality of life, and fostering assistive technologies for those living with ALS. And whereas the ALS Association is the largest philanthropic funder of ALS research globally and has committed more than $154 million to support more than 550 projects across the United States and 18 other countries. And whereas the ALS Association is committed to make ALS livable and cure it for everyone, everywhere. And whereas ALS Awareness Month provides an opportunity to increase public awareness of the dire circumstances of people living with ALS, acknowledge the terrible impact this disease has on those individuals and their families, and support research to eradicate this disease. Now, therefore, Steve Woodard, on behalf of the Mountlake Terrace City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as ALS Awareness Month, I call upon all Americans to join in supporting ALS research, advocating for increased funding, and standing in solidarity with those affected by this relentless disease. And I have information on our local ALS chapter, the Evergreen chapter here in the Seattle area, and they are having a lot of events this summer. And the next one is in July 13th. It's the ALS Golf Classic in Seattle. And then there's a ride to defeat ALS Snoqualmie Valley, which is a bicycle ride, right?
Yes.
And a walk in Tacoma. So there's a lot of things that we can do to help them. And so I want to give this to the city so that if anyone has questions about ALS, and if they need help too, I have this. So right now, I just wanted to present this to the Barnum family, whose father, Terry, we lost him from this disease, and his whole family is here. I first saw these two when they were high school kids. I think they were high school kids.
Yeah.
And they're family people today with kids of their own. So does anyone want to say anything?
I just want to say thank you. It's a terrible disease to go through, and anyone going through it has a hardship, and any support really appreciates. Any support that we had through our community was great. So if there's anything you can do for anyone that you know, reach out, and that would be great for them. Thank you very much.
I should say that this is Pam. No, I know. I almost said Terry, sorry. Bradley and Mitchell. Barham. Okay, now we're going to take photos. One person can put this right in front of you, and another can put this.
Do a better job of filling it around.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Let's do it. We know who we actually want to see in these pictures. Good? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
And this celebration shall continue. We will now move to proclamation for Water Safety Month.
Thank you for joining me, Rose. Rose Plug is our recreation supervisor and has been with the city 34 years. And is coming up at retirement at the end of the month. So I'm so excited that I get the opportunity to present what's a really important proclamation, both in terms of recognition and just ensuring that we're thinking about these things this time of year for Water Safety Month. So, whereas swimming and aquatic related activities promote good physical health and mental health and enhance the quality of life for all people, and whereas water safety and drowning prevention are crucial as water-related incidents are a leading cause of accidental death for children and adults. Communicating, teaching, learning, and practicing water safety can help prevent accidental drownings and recreational water-related injuries. And whereas water safety practices, including participating in swim lessons, supervising children in and around the water, having a buddy system, following posted rules, using Coast Guard-approved life jackets for young children or inexperienced swimmers, swimming in designated areas supervised by lifeguards, and being aware of the dangers of cold water and utilizing the appropriate safety equipment. And whereas the month of May marks the start of the summer recreational season and serves as a vital time for reminding everyone through water safety awareness, everyone can be safer in, on, and around the water all summer long. Now therefore, Steve Woodard, on behalf of the Mountlake Terrace City Council, do hereby proclaim May as Water Safety Month. And Rose has done probably far more than her fair share of ensuring we have water safety, not only for the residents of Mountlake Terrace, but really of the entire region. Our recreation pavilion is beloved and has had a lot of folks come through and learn how to be, both proficient swimmers and learn water safety. And just thank you for all of your work and your care over the years, Rose, and would love to give you the opportunity to say a few words. Are you sure? Okay, well, how about we just give Rose a big round of applause for all of her work. Can we take a picture with you?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. Yes. In on the photo. I'm gonna have you. Okay. Love it. Come on over. Cozy. Yes.
And we'll round this out with a proclamation for National Police Week.
Good evening. I take a lot of pleasure in being able to read this proclamation for two reasons. First, I have a lot of family and friends who were and still are involved in law enforcement, so this means a lot to me. And also, I'm going on like 18, maybe 19 years as a member of the 100 New Hampshire Club. And what that is it's an organization, nonprofit, that through fundraising ensures that any children of falling officers, if they so choose, because of the fundraising that's done, is able to go on to higher learning at no cost. And that's what's been going on for quite a long time. I'm a proud member of that. So it's a pleasure and an honor. So thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to read this proclamation for National Police Week. This proclamation is to recognize National Police Week 2026 and to honor the service of all law enforcement officers and the sacrifices of the men and women killed in the line of duty in 2025 while protecting our communities. Whereas the City of Mountlake Terrace salutes the men and women who do the difficult and dangerous work of safeguarding our communities, and police officers around the nation understand the tremendous responsibility bestowed upon them in protecting the freedom and liberty of all citizens. And whereas the men and women of the Mountlake Terrace Police Department are dedicated to protecting all city residents and visitors with respect and dignity against deception, violence, and disorder. And whereas the residents and visitors of the City of Mountlake Terrace recognize the dangers of the law enforcement profession and understand the difficulties in performing the duties and responsibility of a law enforcement officer. And whereas more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serve communities across the United States, including the sworn police officers of the Mountlake Terrace Police department. And whereas while officers are ever vigilant, 113 police officers died in the line of duty in 2025, amounting to over 27,000 line of duties deaths since the first death was recorded in 1786. So now, therefore, Steve Woodard, on behalf of the Mountlake Terrace City Council, do hereby proclaim May 10th through May 16th, 2026 as National Police Week and show support to the law enforcement officers who devote themselves to delivering exceptional service to this community and in communities across this great nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. It's an honor to accept this on behalf of the men and women from the police department. It's an honor to serve this community, and just a great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You don't want them to hold that. All right.
Let's keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we want you guys in the middle. You're the highlight of this picture.
All right, thank you.
You're totally fine. Do the sorority squat, it'll be great. No. Don't move yet.
Great. Thank you.
For being here today,
Thank you for
guys.
service.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate being here.
Thank you, sir.
Right. We are going to keep moving in celebration mode here. And our next one's going to be graduation for our MLT Community Academy attendees. Quite a few of you are here. And then for those of you who will be watching this later on or in perpetuity with the internet out there, I just want to let you know this did not go unnoticed. We don't usually have celebrities in the room, and the person's so mad I just refer to them as a celebrity. He's looking around like, who's he talking about? But we actually caught the attention, you already knew this hopefully, of your county council, and our county council representative is here in the room. And I tease him a little bit about being a celebrity, mostly because he's got such a busy schedule. He really is supposed to be in lots of places. He rearranged his schedule to make sure he could physically be here today, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. But really that's acknowledging all of you. So thank you all for the work you've done, and we now have our celebration.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. I'm so happy to be honoring the folks that went through our program this evening. It means a lot to me, to all of the members of our team here, to our City Council, for you to take the time and take several hours out of your week, each week, over 8 weeks, in order to learn about what we do. And we want to be as transparent as we can possibly be when we're conducting the operations that we do to keep everything moving safe and clean, well done. Try to do the best we can. So with that, I want to call off each of your names. If I mispronounce them, no disrespect meant. I'll do the best I can. So I want to give you these certificates, and anybody that's not here will hang on to these and make sure that you get those certificates at a later time when it works for you. So first, Erica White. Is Erica here with us this evening? No? Okay. Hold on to that one. Andrea Gorder. Come on up. Sharia Estes. Sharia here? No? Okay. Gail Ciani. Yep. Jenny Mai. Heather Janes. Let's see here, Laura Weisbecker. Laura here? Okay. Liam Miner. Liam with us this evening. We had so many people go through, if every one of the attendees was in the room, we might have a standing room only at the back. So we'll make sure that we get their certificates to them. Charla Vaughn. No, I don't see Charla, okay. And V. Vaughn. No? They did spend enough time here, so I don't blame them. Rita Gunderson. No? And Heidi Fish, I know, yeah, Heidi's not here. Brenda Burrell. Danny Loma. Excellent. Felicia Keaton Howard.
And I'll do it for you. Go Storm.
Bernadette Silang. Okay. Sergio Colon. Lisa Harvey. Adrian Linton. Daniel Minchuk. Kathy Fuhr. Masala Pillay. Okay. Almost to the end here. Sky Schisler. Sky with us? Oh. Colt Fry.
You know I'm going to give a Go Dogs.
Angela Ratner. Aggie Van Horn tonight. Okay, and last but not least, Hillary Lyons. Good deal. We'll make sure these folks get their certificates, and as I said, very thankful for you taking the time to spend those hours with us, learn about what we do, and provide us your insights. Incredibly important and valuable to us. We look forward to doing it every year and looking forward to do it next year as well. Thank
City
you.
Manager, can I add a call to action?
Yeah.
You know, when you graduate, you have a call to action. Well, now that you know so much about the city, I would recommend that you consider applying for boards and commissions. The applications are due May 15th, and we have several vacancies on different commissions. So feel free to come talk to us if you have questions.
All right, I'm going to break protocol a little bit here and leave room for any council member that would like to address any of the graduates as a whole or individual. breaking protocol a little bit here. Yes, please, Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, the opportunity to say congratulations and thank you to Community Academy graduates, I can't pass up on that. I love this program. I'm so excited about this program because I know that we have so many folks in our community who love our community and who are looking for ways to better understand what we do and to get involved. And I just applaud all of you for deciding to raise your hand and participate. I think that is so great. And now you have all of this wonderful knowledge, and I hope you share it with others. I hope you take the deputy city manager's call to action and consider applying for boards and commissions. I promise the interview bunch is a really nice bunch. We'll be smiling faces, and we would love to talk to you, and hope to see you at future city events. But just congratulations on all of your time spent and learnings over the last couple of weeks or last month.
Perfect. Councilmember Page.
Thank you, Mayor. So now that I have done, what can I do? Now that I have received, what can I give? And now that I have seen, how far can I go? And so the challenge is, what can I do with what I've just been given? And, you know, they say that much is expected to those much is given. And I hope that you all will take this opportunity to explore where your mind's eye can see as far as the city government, the city of Mountlake Terrace, and how you can implant yourself in any way possible into the city. And thank you for doing this. The chair, the council, Snohomish County council member was here because he heard about what you did. That's how important it is to not only to our city, but to the council and to the Snohomish Council, you know, the Snohomish County. So I really appreciate you taking the courage to step forth and putting the time in to do this. And we hope that we will see some of you sitting before the three of us applying for a commission or board position this year. And if not, maybe next time. Thank you very much.
I'm letting that go because we don't usually get applause. That's it. Anyone else? Not Councilmember Matsumoto Wright.
Thank you. So now that you learned a little bit about how the city works, hopefully you'll tell other people, because next year we're going to do it again. And if you're excited about what you learned, hopefully you can get that excitement to other people to sign up for next year. And yes, we need some volunteers on our board too. Thank you so much.
Outstanding. All right. Any others? All right. So we're going to keep it moving then. Now we're going to move to 10, which is a review and vote on the ordinance approving interfund loan, and that's with our finance director, Siddiqui.
Sorry, Mayor, that was the one that we
flip-flop.
flipped earlier. We're doing 11
Psych.
first.
We're doing presentation of final playground design first, and that is with our Recreation Parks Director, Jeff Betts, and Supervisor Selena Williams.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. I'm Jeff Betts, the Recreation Parks Director for the city, and with me tonight is Selena Williams, Park Supervisor. And we are going to do a pretty short presentation for you, review a playground that is to be installed at Firefighters Memorial Park. So this playground, actually, I should say this, back up a little bit. This presentation is not a review or an approval. It's just a presentation really just to inform council of some of the work that staff have done to get community's preference for this site, the process that we undertook, as well as to show you that final selected playground. So agenda for this presentation includes reviewing the relevant council goals, the legislative history related to this item, some background, playground designs, the community involvement process, the budget for the project, as well as the timeline, and any questions that you have. So council goals relative to this playground would be growing a vibrant community, responsible governance to ensure desired levels of service, and an informed and engaged community. So legislative history, the council did review and approve an interlocal agreement with Snohomish County in May 15th, 2025. And that was to fund playground equipment for Firefighters Memorial Park in the amount of $30,000. The deadline to complete this project per the ILA is December 31st, 2026. So some background about how we came to this project. Well, we utilized the Recreational Park Open Space Plan that was approved in 2022 by the council, and there's a lot of community input that went into that plan. It includes all the different playgrounds that we have, a playground inventory, as well as the needs and relative age to each playground. This Firefighters Memorial Playground wasn't the top-rated playground, as you know, because we all know what that one is. It's at Terrace Creek Park, even before its removal. But there is also a policy that we have within our grants portion that we try to seek grants and try to match them. And if there's an opportunity, we want to go for that grant. And a $30,000 grant isn't going to quite impact Terrace Creek Park's playground, which is much larger. But for a small playground, it can really get some things done. And so that is really how this grant fit that piece. So the playground is listed in our Recreation Park Open Space Plan. It's in our capital improvement program. And then, so those things led us to some conversations with Snohomish County. And so thanks to County Council Member Jared Mead, who was here just a bit ago, he was able to ask each one of the jurisdictions within his area that he represents about projects that we would like to see accomplished for that dollar amount. And so we did offer up an array of projects, and this was the one that was selected. And so that moved forward with that $30,000 grant for a new playground. We've received other playgrounds and grants with Snohomish County of the nature of this as well, including at Bicentennial Park, Evergreen Playfield, and then there is some current play pieces at Firefighters Memorial Park also that were funded with the same source about 14 years ago now. So then there was a request for proposals that we created. And so that process, we submitted to playground companies. 4 playground companies responded. They submitted 7 different ideas. Some gave us multiple. Then staff did work with the Recreation Parks Advisory Commission and Neighborhood Park Improvement Subcommittees to narrow that down to 3. Then the next steps, Selena will go over some of the community involvement process that we did, but it'll be documented here coming up. And then additional piece of background of this is there will be removal of existing play piece. So everybody knows probably that there is a firefighter-themed fire truck in that location currently that recent inspections have shown it to not be up to current standards. It doesn't meet everything, all the requirements necessary for it to be accessible and safe for all the community to access. And it is, I think, about 43 years old as of this year. So it will be slated for removal. There is an additional swing set also on that site that would be moved. As long as we can get it out of the ground without breaking it, then we would move it to that back play area where there's sand currently. And then the play pieces that are back there would be moved to other parks potentially within the system that we're speaking to RPAC about right now. So that new playground would be installed by staff at a future date when we receive it and prepare the site. So just to run through the 3 different playground designs that we did bring to our community involvement group. So this was one playground design A, as we called it in the survey materials. So most of them were given some criteria that we wanted to see to kind of match the site. It had to have some kind of firefighter theme or something related to Firefighters Memorial Park. And so you can see here they gave it some red and yellow colors for this playground. And then this is playground design B. It has the giant green check mark because this is the one that was selected. And so this playground has a fire truck theme as well with the fire pole, swirly pole, step climber, and it has 2 slides. And there's also some interactive play features with the fire truck looking area of the playground itself that seem to be pretty appealing. Then playground C also used red, but red and blue. And they did have some other features that were Firefighters Park related at one time, and then they were trying to get the cost down to match the other playgrounds, and I believe they had to remove a couple of those pieces to it. So, and then I'll hand over the rest of the presentation to Selena.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. So how did we get here? Jeff and I didn't just make this decision. We coordinated with the Sienna and got a public survey out to almost 700 people who responded. And within those 700, 576 people left individual comments about what they liked about the one that they selected. So that was within 2 weeks. I think that's a huge success. Big kudos to Sienna on helping get that out to the public via socials and news blasts as well. I personally went to the pavilion. We surveyed the kids in our youth groups. So we printed out huge posters of each design, gave the kids stickers, and told them to select the one that they preferred. There was a slight shift to Playground C that they preferenced, but Playground B was also a close second in that crowd as well. And then, of course, we were very much engaged with MPIS and RPAC throughout this whole process. They saw the original 7 designs and narrowed it down to the 3 designs that you just saw to go out to polling. And then there was internal staff reviews that, we have maintenance considerations, obviously budget considerations that we had to consider with selecting the playground. So just here's a quick budget breakdown. So the playground equipment, that's with tax and shipping. Surfacing, that's going to be the ADA accessible wood chips. We're able to get a border installed, which will help the migration of those wood chips, and it'll also include an ADA ramp into the wood chips. And then we have to address some drainage concerns. If you visited Firefighters in any wet season, you know that it puddles, and that is a huge safety concern that we're hoping to fix with this update. And there will also be an ADA asphalt pad to that ADA ramp into the play area. So funding sources, so like Jeff mentioned, we got the Snohomish County REIT grant by Jared Mead, our representative there. So that was a big chunk of our budget. And then we also have the park amenities budget from MPIS that they agreed to support this project. Though there is some remaining funds that will be coming out of our operations budget, but we have padding to support that remaining about $10,000. So timeline, I'm hoping to contact the vendor tomorrow to go ahead with purchase. So that's like a 6 to 10 week wait on when we get the playground equipment. We will be installing the playground ourselves in-house, but of course there's site prep that we need to do ahead of time. So we're hoping to start that coming up in June, be ready for install once we get the equipment, and then hopefully have the playground open by the end of August seems obtainable from our planning perspective, and that'll easily meet our deadline of December 31st. So at this time, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Jeff and Selena. All right, do we have any questions, comments? Councilmember Doyle.
This is fantastic. I'm a little sad that my family's choice didn't win. We were going for C. I asked my kids what they thought, but I think this is exciting. And just as also a comment, to thank you to Sienna, just for getting people involved. It's so interesting to see what really gets people excited, and parks get people excited, and playgrounds. That's so many more survey responses than I thought you guys would get. So I'm excited, so good work.
Thank you, Councilmember Doyle. Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you both for the presentation. I guess folks, get your pictures now. So I was going to say, we know that there's lots of beloved memories and feelings about some of our park equipment. So I think we have folks here. Make sure you tell your friends and neighbors that they still have an opportunity to visit while it's there for a little bit longer. So make sure you get that in. Thank you for the public engagement. Appreciate that. I think that's great. I think it's particularly great that we engaged kids at the recreation pavilion on something that impacts them. I will say I have a little bit of feeling about the fact that we chose a different option than perhaps they would have gone with, but also recognize that those results were very close, both for the adults and for the kids in those cases. Yay for the additional ADA accessibility. I was curious just about the ages for each playground. I was going to say, the target ages for each A, B, and C. I guess I'm curious what those were.
Yeah, so it's all recommended ages based on standards. So playground A is 2 to 5-year-olds, and then B and C were 5 to 12.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. It's hard to tell looking at those pictures, and so I appreciate that context, and I know that's part of our planning, and I will just continue to advocate for, us to think about older kids as we are making some of these park renovations, particularly maybe as we're revisiting the Terrace Creek Park plan, just so we're giving kids who are older as well some opportunities to get out and do productive things in the community and at our parks. Plans to notify folks that the park is closing. I know it's always hard because the peak time for construction is also the peak time for park usage oftentimes. So given that we've got Terrace Creek Park down and that now it's probably the closest, well, we have lots of parks in Mountlake Terrace and we're really fortunate there, but this is one of the closer parks to that location. Do we have just a plan around trying to notify particularly those in that immediate area that the park will be unavailable, I assume, during construction?
Yeah, so I plan to coordinate with Sienna on, the upcoming closure. I plan to kind of do a blast when we are set to remove the existing fire truck, just to give folks, last moment to get out there. So there will definitely be, on socials and any recommendations that Sienna has to get the word out there for sure.
Appreciate it. Just appreciate all the thought around the community engagement. And yeah, excited to have another new park in the community. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Councilmember Sonmore.
Thank you. I was just looking up my notes from our last RPAC meeting, and we had quite the conversation on debating back and forth, and B and C were extremely close. In fact, we have a new board member who has twins, and the twins decided on 1B and 1C, and so I thought that was kind of interesting that the twins had kind of opposing thoughts. But one of the things that we looked at were the ropes and the wear and tear on the ropes. And then also a good question about the age groups, vandalism, if the plastic could burn, if somebody would set fire to it, and then keeping the theme of the park. And it went quite a bit. I mean, we took it very seriously, and the RPAC team did a great job debating on what they thought would work the best. And I have to say it was very, very close. And so they just kind of went for it and went for B, but they did debate back and forth quite a bit, and I was very proud of the decision they made. And so with that, just thank you for bringing this. It'll be a nice addition to our park, and I know there's maybe a couple more people to add to the plaque because we lost a couple firefighters, and I know Clay Nye and I'm not sure the other person's name, but they have a little stone up at the top, or they did at one time, but just thank you for what you did on that. So, all good.
Others, questions, comments, feedback? All right, seeing none, we'll end with mine, which was just straightforward. You might have answered while I was trying to not drive you in the back there. I appreciate the social media presence, but not everybody's social media. So will there be physical announcements, and how soon can we get that out there? Because I don't want it to be a month out. I'd like it to go ahead and be 3 months out so people can get used to the idea and maybe have a QR code to learn more, just so we can avoid the candy cane park, which is, we felt like we did a lot of notice, and yet everybody was convinced we did this overnight, right? And so in that regard, as many touch points as possible.
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll work with the community engagement manager, and we'll try to put together a more thorough plan. Hopefully that reaches more people, and then a physical sign would be something that could be good as well on the location. So we don't have an exact date for removal yet as well, so I think we can kind of plan that and put that out there and make sure everybody understands and knows what's happening.
Perfect, thank you. Any other last minute? No, not seeing any. We'll keep moving forward then, and now we will actually move to number 11, which in this case will be the review and vote of the ordinance approving interfund loan with our finance director, Sirke Salmanen.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. So here, I think, hang on. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about an interfund loan today. And the purpose of this loan is for cash flow, to provide cash flow to the capital projects in parks prior to receiving a grant reimbursement. So we'll talk about what is an interfund loan and the purpose of the interfund loan and the requirements and why the city needs this loan. So what is an interfund loan? So it's a loan from one fund to another, and it's temporary assistance to fund projects. And this, it is considered temporary from 1 to 3 years. We cannot go beyond that. It's a line of credit, so there's a little bit of a difference. It's not one lump sum, it is a line of credit, and it can be renewed after that. It also includes a repayment to the lending fund, and that includes principal and interest payments. So there are many reasons for a loan. So in our case, it's the middle one, and that is to provide, again, to provide cash flow to our capital projects, the parks in particular. And when the city is awarded a grant, we have to spend the money first, and then we submit a request for a reimbursement. So it's that kind of a bridge loan, if you will. So there are requirements. The loan must be authorized by an ordinance, which we've brought forward today. Interest must be charged. And the idea of having an interfund loan instead of going to a bank is that interest we can pay ourselves instead of going to an outside financial institution and pay them the interest. The borrowing fund must have the ability to repay the debt. In our case, it is a grant reimbursement, and when we receive that reimbursement, then the debt is paid. It must be short-term, and then there are reporting requirements to the state auditor's office, and that's in our annual report. So why does the city need an interfund loan? The Parks Capital Fund, it's mainly funded by impact fees, park impact fees, REIT, which is real estate excise tax, and the general fund, and then grants. And which I just mentioned, in order to receive the grant money, we have to spend the money first, and then we submit a reimbursement. So this does create a cash flow issue. And when a fund is in a negative balance, it's basically borrowing money from another fund, and this would have to be formalized. So one fund cannot benefit from another fund without having a formalized agreement. So then these are some of the current Parks Capital projects that we have been awarded grants, and it's pretty close to $6.9 million. And the terms, so this is for a $2 million line of credit from the Stormwater Fund to the Parks Capital Fund. There's a monthly draw on it, and it depends on what expenses we have, what expenditures for that month. And then, and it's only expenditures that will be reimbursed by a grant. There are other expenditures that happen throughout the month, but these are just the ones that are reimbursed by a grant. So once the grant reimbursement has been received by the city, and that is normally 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes it can be longer, but the average is 3 to 4 weeks. Then we would pay the Stormwater Fund the full principal and interest. And the interest rate that we determine is the rate of the local government investment pool. Now, that is a lower rate than, let's say, going to a financial institution and getting a commercial loan. The current rate is 3.7%, and that changes monthly. So we would pay back at a different interest rate every single month. What I've looked up for commercial loans, it's anywhere from 5.2% to 9%, and those can vary. And so we would have a lower interest rate, and we would be paying ourselves. And that is it. So staff recommends City Council adopt the ordinance. Any questions?
All right, folks, since this is a review and vote, let's see if we have any questions. Councilmember Sonmore.
Yes, can I ask, so there is no current, let's see, I understand other cities are doing this, and with the enterprise, we do have to pay interest on it, but my concern is there is no cash fund balance in the funds right now that we received into the pool, and were any transferred into the general fund to balance, or to help balance the budget?
Into the capital parks, the capital fund, so it is a separate fund, and it's a construction fund, so normally we don't have any reserves in there. And we do move money, transfer anything that is budgeted, like the REIT or from the general fund, we move it into that fund, depending on the project it is meant for. So there are several projects, and if we meant the project, like REIT money to go to a certain project, we would only move that when that money was spent.
So what were you doing currently? So that was the current process. So what were we doing before, and then why do we need it now?
Oh, I see. Before there, we did not have cash balances in all the funds, so it was just one bucket of money. So, sorry, I'm at the tail end of a cold. It was just one bucket of money, and that was what it was, the projects were paid out of. So it was technically borrowing money from the other funds. And that's been happening all along. So we want to rectify that.
All right, others questions? Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Cirque. I appreciate you just continuing to take steps to ensure that we're putting processes in place to keep us compliant. So I think it makes a lot of sense. It feels very parallel to me. I've seen in my professional life, seen more and more folks utilize their 401ks in a similar way, right? Whereas interest rates rise, people have utilized that to take loans when they've needed funds, and then they pay back themselves with interest. And I will say, very appreciative for both the lower rate and the interest payments coming back to us versus a third party elsewhere. So my only question or concern is probably not a question for you. It's probably more a question for maybe our city manager, but just we do grants all of the time, and I don't recall a situation where, particularly for parks grants, we weren't able to meet the requirements of the grants where we had spent money and weren't able to recoup the funds. But that would be, I guess, my one concern potentially with this. Could you just speak to whether or not we've had that come up?
Yeah, if Cirque had the slide up earlier that showed the number of projects that we're completing, and the total is about $6.9 million, like she mentioned. That's a lot of parks projects that we haven't undertaken in like the same time frame, right? We've done significant capital improvements, but stretched over a longer period of time. The other issue is, as was mentioned earlier, all the capital funds were in one bucket, and when council authorized the creation of these capital funds for each individual enterprise, if you will, 4 or 5 months ago, we were doing the fund cleanup. That's when we were able to see where the dedicated funds are coming from. So we're not using water money, for instance, for parks projects or that kind of thing. It's a cleaner, much more transparent process.
Thank you. I appreciate, both the extra explanation and all of the work. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, feedback? Seeing none, I'll just give my quick feedback, which is just to say I can appreciate this problem working for a nonprofit. This is just the way the model is. I don't think there's anything cities can do other than advocate that we should not have this reimbursement model. This is unbelievable that this is what is expected to do business, and it's actually expected to be able to get to do business. So a lot of people can't even compete because they can't pay the upfront costs. So that's just my little comment, and just saying thank you for finding a creative solution that's transparent in the process. That said, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt an ordinance authorizing an interfund loan from the Stormwater Fund to the Parks Capital Fund.
Have a motion on the table. Councilmember Murray.
Second.
Have a second. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion at this point? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you kindly. Appreciate your time. We're going to stick in the theme of review and vote and move now to review and vote of our Fiscal Sustainability Task Force recommendations, and that is with our Deputy City Manager, our City Manager, as well as our Finance Director.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Tonight we have the, you're going to have to advance the slides for me. I can't reach that far. Tonight we have the final scheduled meeting for the Fiscal Sustainability Task Force recommendations and their report. We are seeking council's final decision to resolve those strategies to resolve the budget gap that we've identified over the past year. As a recap, we received recommendations on how to bridge the financial gap in our general fund from the task force in February, and since then the City Council has deliberated over strategies over 3 meetings, and we would like to seek your input, answer any questions you have about what process to move forward with at this point. Staff, after you deliberate, staff will plan for the next steps based on each strategy, whether that be adding proposals to the 27-28 budget, preparing resolutions or ordinances for council's consideration, or something else. So I want to take a moment just to talk a little bit about the things that we have gone over over the past few weeks, and then kind of where we are. So you've all heard the statistic, over 61% of the cities in Washington state are dealing with something like we're dealing with. That's almost 2/3 of the cities here in the state. We're not alone. And over the last 2 decades, there's been a significant reduction in revenue for cities coming from the state level, not only for the Initiative 747, which then turned into legislation back in, I believe, 2001, although that's quite a while ago, 25 years ago, along with car tab fees, if everybody remembers that change several years ago. The construction index, since 2016, that's what we pay for materials, all of our capital projects, has gone up 90 points, or 58% in the last 10 years. The average employee earnings have gone up about 29% over the last 10 years, and property tax revenues over the last 10 years are down when you consider those issues. The big thing, I wanted to find the correct statistic here on my notes. Our revenue, if we do take have taken the 1% property tax over the last 10 years, has gone up about 28%. Inflation and the Seattle inflation, the CPIW, which is the Seattle Bellevue area inflation index, has gone up 101%. During that time frame. So you can see the structural issues. Those are just some of the structural issues. When we talk about a structural deficit, those are the items that we're talking about. At the same time, we have insurance costs that have doubled over the last 5 years. We have, of course, the public defense issues that we've talked about quite a bit, and the costs going up for that over the next decade. We can see costs continuing to rise there. The reality is that we cannot provide the same level of service we do today without increased revenue. So I'm not going to go through all the details of the proposals again. You guys have seen this enough and talked about it quite a bit. So what I'd like to do is turn it over to council and have a discussion. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
That seems fair. So let's go ahead and get going. Questions, comments, feedback? Interesting. All right. I can call for a vote. We can say, Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, obviously, we're all very excited to dig into this conversation. No, I am actually. I was going to say maybe excited is the wrong word, but this has been a long journey here. I want to say big thank you to our Fiscal Sustainability Task Force, who really did a lot of the heavy lifting early on to set us up with very thoughtful recommendations on how we navigate, what is a very tough budget situation, and one that, again, we're 25 years into, right? So we've had lots of conversations for quite a few meetings. So yeah, I appreciate that maybe some of us are feeling a little talked out about it at this point. I guess I will restate kind of where I have been at and continue to be at, recognizing actually, I have an actual question. We have had some questions about recreation fees. Can we just talk a little bit about that here at our meeting tonight in terms of, we have one of the proposals before us is an increase in recreation fees, and we had some conversation, I don't know if it was the last meeting or the one before about that, but one of the asks was just around trying to mitigate some of the impact on our residents that would come through that proposal, and would just, love to talk about that here.
Yeah. So we did propose the two scenarios, and I failed to mention, but I'm sure you're all aware, the council's, the questions the council had at your April 23rd meeting. We endeavored to provide all the information with that to you, or for those questions to you. We had two proposals. One was a 5% increase for residents, and then a 10% increase for non-residents, and then a second one that was 10% across the board. Either one of those scenarios will meet the needs, the revenue needs that we have in that particular fund. We are looking and doing additional research that council members have kind of started us down a path on. That is not going to be ready for this budget year and will entail some additional costs. But we are looking at that program in the longer term, but it won't be ready for the 27-28 budget. If that answers, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
No, that answers my question. I just wanted to make sure, because one of the things I'd proposed was potentially including that in a place that it didn't exist currently. So I don't expect folks to necessarily remember, but the proposal before us that I thought best met the needs of the moment and the most balanced way that we can possibly approach it was staff proposal 1. I still would like to see us try to mitigate a couple of the cuts that are proposed before us still. The two that I think we can offset fairly, I think the two that I would like to see us remove, that we could offset by including the increased fees for development services with staff, in addition to staff proposal 1, which is an addition of $200,000 in revenue, would be not to cut the Economic Development 2027 Partnership for Professional Services. I saw we put out a plug for Economic Development Week this week as a city, and it's Small Business Week as well. We've done a lot of work over the last several years to increase the economic viability and vibrancy of our community. And I think that is money that is coming back to us and has been well spent. And I would hate to see us take that out of our budget at a time where that is a really important investment in ourselves as a community. The other one I would like to see is the one actual cut of current staff versus the not filling of an open role, which is the Parks 2027 service cut, which lays off staff in the associated vehicle for savings of $110,000 or $110,077. So if we struck those proposed cuts, the total addition would be $160,077, which would be offset by the proposed increased fees for development services at $200,000. So again, these are hard decisions. Again, we've been cutting for 25 years. There's not a lot left to cut, but in my ideal world, that is where I would land. I would love to hear where other folks are at, but if I was going to put a motion on the table right now, that's what I would put on the table.
Others, feedback, comments, questions? I'm going to see a show of hand here if somebody wants in.
Go ahead.
Councilmember Sonmore.
I'd just like to point out some of the historical budget savings that I have an issue with. The city's financial funds finds that the past budget has relied heavily on non-recurring savings such as vacancies, savings, delayed spending, and underspending to appear balanced. The savings are not structural, meaning they're inconsistent, unpredictable, and not sustainable year to year. The historical savings should not be used as a long-term budgetary strategy, sometimes known as padding a budget. Moving forward, the city should eliminate reliance on one-time issues and payments and assuming savings based on budgets that are only real ongoing revenues and expenditures. I don't think this is a permanent fix. I think it's a temporary fix, and it moves the problem and kicking the can down the road. Relies on temporary fixes do not always help the general fund, and it could be a warning of a deeper financial challenge that could move us well into $6 million extremely quickly based on the $4 million that we're already looking at.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate Councilmember Murray's comments. I think that there's still, I should back up, and actually I want to appreciate the work that was done by the Financial Sustainability Task Force. I think they did a great job in prepping this discussion for the council. I think the discussion we've had previously and the work that staff has done to get us here has been tremendous. I do have concerns. And so I appreciate Councilmember Murray's comments as far as maybe a little more fine tuning needs to continue to be done. And then the other thing, I guess, is many of you know I have a lot to say about this topic. I've said a lot, but based on the past news report, my comments may be that I've been saying too much. So I want to make sure I'm very clear and that my concern is about affordability for our residents. And when I talk about affordability, I'm talking about cost of living. The cost of living is a struggle for many people, many of our residents. And we, I could go into my own stories, but I know we all know people who are struggling to make ends meet. And what we're asking to do here is
put some additional burden on our residents. And I'm not saying that what we're doing isn't, in fact, if there's a level of government that is closest to the people, it's this city. And it's this city's services that we provide that are the most important and most impactful on our residents. Yet, every other government, the cost of government overall adds significant burden to each of our residents. And this is just yet one more piece of that puzzle that adds challenges and burdens to our residents that I'm concerned about. And so it's not that this isn't going for a good cause. It's not that we aren't, it's not that there aren't a lot of great services that this city provides and should be providing and needs to be funded in order to provide. But I do want to be clear in my message about why I'm going to vote no, and it is because I am concerned about the impact it has on our residents, and we need to continue working to fine-tune and find ways to be able to help us get to deliver the services that we need to deliver, but in a most cost-effective manner. And again, the other piece of it, it's a significant piece of how we're funding that is through the bank capacity on the property tax, which I feel that I made a commitment to the voters, and therefore I need to honor that commitment to when we asked them to support the South County Fire property tax. We ended up, that's how we got the bank capacity, and so I want to make sure that our residents are, I'm honoring that commitment to our residents, and if in fact they are willing to vote to support additional property taxes, which we'll be asking them to do, then they'll have the opportunity to tell us that that is in fact okay to increase their property taxes to be able to fund the services that we need to provide to the city. So again, to be clear, I'm concerned about affordability on the cost of living for our residents.
Others, feedback, comments? Councilmember Sodmore.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilman Wall, for your concerns. That's exactly how I feel. I'm concerned and have problematic issues based on the heavy reliance of the taxes and fee increase. And I do have to say that because I wrote it down. I do appreciate the financial task force that we had. What I don't appreciate is the $107,000 we spent on that from an outside source from Oregon to provide some of the areas that he thought we should cut. And I don't believe, being on the task force, that we had enough room to discuss. It was basically pushed on us, and I didn't like the process. I thought it could have been done a lot better. There was a lot of comments that I collected on it that I could tell you about, but moving on from that, when we go forward, I'd like to do that a lot differently. But my concern now is the heavy reliance on taxes and fee increases. And what we both pointed out is the affordability of houses. If we keep on increasing all these fees and put it on our citizens, how are they going to find affordable housing? So right now, what we're looking at is increasing property tax, increasing your vehicle fees, increasing possibly sales tax if we want to go that route, putting it out to a vote for a park district, and that's going to cost you money. You may not see that right away if your house isn't paid off and you have it into a loan, but you will see it in other ways. And so I feel the residents may feel that the city is asking for the taxpayers to solve the problem that was caused by some of our overspending. And we have a lot of tax fatigue at this time. And so I'm looking at the city to go back and look at what departments that can be reorganized, what city goals can be reviewed and looked at and reduced, and look at all the programs that are essential and non-essential, and what capital projects should be delayed, and what staff levels we have with attrition, and what staff levels have risen. I think that we can do more as a city to reduce city costs before we go to our citizens out and increasing costs. And Brian, I'm with you. I worked on the RFA for many years. I was one of the leaders in that, collecting all the information, going to all the different cities on that. And we did get that, and I'm afraid if we go out the way I feel and we do the bank capacity is we're taxing citizens twice on their RFA. As we know, the RFA costs are already going to go up, but now we're asking our citizens to pay our RFA cost, and we are asking them to go back on what we originally voted on as a council and re-tax you on your RFA. So it has a negative impact, especially to our families that are living paycheck to paycheck.
Others, feedback, comments, questions? Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So governing is hard work, guys. We have hard decisions in front of us, and there is no easy answers. And we have to have solutions. We have a $6 million plus gap that we have now spent a year and a half trying to resolve. And we are here, and our staff is asking us to make recommendations to them about how we want to do that. That is a hard decision. I very much recognize any decision we make here is going to have real impact on our community members, and I hope that all of our community members know that you do not have a single council member sitting up here who does not care about the impact that the decision we are making right now is going to have on you and on future residents of Mountlake Terrace. But there are real impacts both in increase in cost, fees, taxes, and there is real impact in cuts in service. I mean, to a point where there are cities in the state of Washington that have declared bankruptcy and that are talking about dissolving. That is not an unrealistic, and I'm not saying that is where we are, but that is not an unrealistic path after 25 years of not even keeping up with the cost of maintaining services. And again, I think our mayor said it very well in one of our conversations, we are not adding anything. We are literally trying to figure out how to continue to provide the services that we have already been providing to our community and that they rely on. Most of them are not optional, by the way, either. So let's put that part of it forward as well. So I put myself in a vulnerable place. It doesn't feel good to have to be like, hey, here's the best out of the bad solutions, in front of us. But that is why we are here. We all raised our hands to do this work and to be courageous. I would love to hear a single other council member make a proposal about how we move forward. That's what we're being asked to do tonight. We all knew we were coming here to do this. Saying no doesn't solve anything. It just leaves us with a $6 million gap and potentially no city government. So, if it is not the FST preferred option, if it is not staff proposal 1, if it's not staff proposal 2, if it's not my preferred option of staff proposal 1 with the additions and subtractions that I mentioned, I would love to hear I am not wed to my solution being the only solution. I would love to hear others bring forward a proposal. If no one else speaks, I'll go ahead and make my motion. But I do think that is why we are all here, is to have hard conversations and to make hard decisions and not abdicate them. So I would love to hear somebody else share at least a singular proposal of how we want to move forward.
Others, comments, feedback, question? Councilmember Doyle.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Murray. As a new council member, this has been one of my first big decisions, and it's a weighty decision per your comment. And we're all here because we all give a damn about this city, and we live here. And these changes that we're proposing, we are also paying for because we live here also, and our children live here. My children hopefully can find affordable housing here. All of these. We bring all of this when we make these decisions, when we, as you say, we raise our hand to make these decisions. And they are very difficult because in an ideal world, I don't want anyone to pay more, and I want everything, right? But everything is not a choice, right? I want a new rec center. I want everything, and we can't have that. And that's just the reality, and it's hard, but it's our job to find a solution. And the solution won't always be pretty, and it won't be popular, but we're not here to make pretty decisions, and we're not here to be popular. We're here to solve the problem. That's why we're here. And some problems, there isn't a perfect solution. There's not a perfect solution here. I don't want to pay more in property taxes. I will. I don't want to vote for Councilmember Murray will. She will. And the residents here will too. I don't want that, but that's where we are, because the alternative is paring down our city even more, not having recreation staff, laying people off, that doesn't feel good either. So for me, the most equitable and reasonable plan is Proposal 1, because also, per your point, I don't want to increase fees for community development. I want people to invest in the city. I want more of a tax base for the city that doesn't just rely on property taxes. And I appreciate your comment, City Manager, about the history of this. This problem it's a tumbleweed in the desert. It's been rolling for a long time. This is not the result of 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, or 15 years of reckless city spending. This is a very long problem. And at this point, we will have to turn it to voters to fund these levies, hopefully. And if they vote no, I hope they vote no, understanding what no means, right? Because that was the purpose of 747, or I think that was the initiative in the first place, right? Was to not let city government do what it wanted to do, to turn it to the voters. Well, we're going to turn it, I want to turn it to the voters and let people decide, but also understand that if the vote is no, then there are real consequences to that. And if the city residents are okay with those consequences, then so be it. So it's our job to answer this question, and it will be the residents' job to answer that question. But it's going to be hard for everyone, and I understand it will impact people disproportionately. And I don't have a magic wand. I don't have a way around it. But it's our job to solve the problem, to make the decision, and then to move forward. So I support Proposal 1.
Councilmember Page.
Thank you, Mayor, and all the other council members that have spoken. I can probably say that all of us, and this is to our residents, all of us have probably stayed up late at night thinking about tonight. Someone said to me earlier, well, I've been looking forward for the last week for today, and I responded, I've been looking forward for the last month for today, and that was just because it's not easy. I wasn't really looking forward to it. It was something that has to be done. And the first thing that's on my mind is that I hope that any members of the FST that are here or are listening are hearing us say, thank you for getting us to a starting point, okay? Because when you look at these three models, what they did or what they offered is in all three of these models. So what they did and how hard they worked was not in vain. And so I hope you hear that we're saying thank you. And I had a conversation today with a member, and I said, because I know that there are FST members based upon these other two models and what they're hearing coming from up here is that you didn't get things done. And you feel like you worked for nothing. And you wish that more of your stuff was present here. But I look at what these models look like, and you're represented here loud and clear. And if you don't hear anything else today, you need to hear that you got us started, because we were nowhere before the FST was put together. And when we go forward, and I know there's other cities now trying to practice the model that you put together to help them in the position that they're in, that we learn as they go forward, that, or the FSTs or whatever they're going to be called, learn that, at the end of the day, you're not going to have 100% of what you thought is the right thing going to be part of the city plan. But if you work hard like you did, and if you think and you talk amongst each other and ask the questions and come up with a plan, something of what you did is going to be present in whatever the city and municipalities come forward with. So let's make sure that, I'm hoping that you hear that, because that's one of the three things that's on my mind, because I'm just kind of tired of hearing that you all didn't get it done. And that's crap, all right, period. Secondly, we talk about affordability, and thank you, both of you, because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, gee whiz, I've been living here since 2020, so when they talked about, the South County fire, I was part of that vote. I voted, and I heard, the promises, and I asked myself the question, did I recognize then that a promise was being made? I don't know. I can't remember, but maybe we shouldn't have made promises. I don't know, because we're in a different place now than we were a few years back in terms of where we are revenue and spending and all that other stuff. But, you know, we worry about affordability, and I worry about affordability just like everyone else does. And at the same time, we're talking about, as it was well said, well, we don't want anybody to spend more money, but at the same time, we don't want to cut things because everybody wants things to happen. Well, we're not corporate America. We don't get that option. We really don't. I worked for corporate America for 35 years. In corporate America, you get that option. You know, you can cut and you can save and raise the prices and all that other stuff, and boom, you're still making a profit for your shareholders. But you know, that's not the case here. We have to make a decision, and that decision's got to look like something that says at the end of the day that we done followed the letter of the law and we done came out with a budget that's not in a deficit. It's as simple as that. And our government continues to run, just simple as that. And so, you know, I really feel that, you know, I've been in the city for 5 years, going on actually 6 years now. You know, I'm here because I love the city. I'm here because I wanted the challenge. I wanted to have the impact. I wanted to make those down and dirty decisions. Well, tonight we get to make one. I do support Proposal 1 because I think that we cannot walk out of here thinking that it's okay to just say no to maybe promises that we made that maybe we knew we couldn't keep or wouldn't be able to keep or hope that we could keep. Well, we can't keep those promises. But we have to really make sure that we look at all the things that are coming down the pike as far as what we're going to be asking our residents to pay. It's not just the city. I think Councilmember Wall said that. It's not just the city that's going to be asking for more money. You know, we got the county, got the state, you know, we've got other agencies that service us. We're not going to say no to them, because they give us a service that if we don't get the service, then we're in even worse trouble. So we just got to make sure that we're looking at all of that. And but we can't walk out of here with a no. And you know, I know we're looking to do some fine tuning, but that's what you all are going to do when we give you what we want or what we think is the best solution. You know, you're the ones that's going to go make the cuts. You're the ones that's going to fine tune. You're the one that's going to go dig and deep. But we got to give you some direction, and that's what you're asking for. You're not asking for us to, all right, at the end of the day, go ahead and leave and come back next Wednesday or next Thursday or answer my emails or my text messages and tell me what you really want. You asked us for an answer today. You know, that's my answer. You know, I agree with Proposal 1, and if we come to whatever decision we make, then you really got to go to work. And that's how it works.
All right. I'm going to let Councilmember Matsumoto Wright speak, please.
Well, I was just thinking that Candy Cane Park was a good example of something that can happen. Oh, but I have it on. Well, I have to go closer. I was just thinking that Candy Cane Park was a good example of things that can happen, and people are expecting that level of a park, and then all of a sudden it's all taken away from them. And so, you know, you can translate that into streets, you can translate that into water, and a lot of different things. We're trying to keep a level of service going in this city, and yet the prices keep going up. And it's just a no-win situation for any city right now. And you're right, everything is going to keep going up. And when I guess a lot of people know that their costs are going up, but until it gets to that next digit, like if it goes from 99 to 100, to 2 digits to 3 digits, then it doesn't really hit until that happens, because it didn't with me, with I think it was waste management. So this is a really, really tough decision. And no matter which way we vote, it's just going to be tough, because no matter what we do, we're still going to have to provide water, sewer, and all the basic things, police, safety, and we're just going to have to figure out how we're going to pay for it. Thank you.
Councilmember Sonmore.
Thank you. And I do want to point out, I am not knocking the people on the task force. In fact, they were very well educated, and what I was concerned about is a lot of their issues, like you had brought up some issues that were never discussed. And I have gone through this process before in 2008, and we did it extremely different. And I actually happened to have a mentor who's one of the state's top budget people. And I asked if they could help, and I never got a response back. So I was offering it out there. So if you have that wrong opinion, I'll leave it as that. But I don't understand by going preference 1, 2, or 3. Right now, things have changed since we had the financial task force. Metropolitan Parks, Tacoma Parks District is now $7 to $9 million in debt. And is that one of the models that we want to emulate? If we want to put it out to the voters, so be it. But I would go down one by one by one. I would say picnic tables, if we're going to do 3 a week, but we're reducing the person that oversees the rentals to half, and we expect people to pay for a picnic table in the park, so be it. I mean, we'll try it, but I'm sure we're going to have issues with people thinking they were there first, and parks are usually supposed to be free, but if we're going to go down to the picnic level piece, so be it. If we want to increase certain things, I think we should go line item by line item, but proposal staff 1, they all have different impacts, but there are certain things that are kind of no-brainers, but there's some of us that do not want certain things because we've made promises to the public before. But I think just going one by one is a lot better than just picking a package.
All right, are we running out of questions, comments, and feedback? Oh, Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate hearing everyone's perspectives. I mean, we are here, and I made very clear to my children before I came tonight that they should be in bed when I get home, because I had no anticipation I would be home before a reasonable time, because I assumed that this would be a lengthy and weighty conversation. So I think if there are things we need to go through line by line to get to a solution to propose and vote on, then we should do that. I mean, that's, again, I've shared my perspectives on what I think is the best path forward, but very open to hearing others. Like, we need a solution. So if others have other solutions and ways to get there, we should have those conversations, because this is our opportunity to get it as right as we can, recognizing that there is not a perfect path forward.
Any other questions, comments, feedback? Oh, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess, and I have, you talk about other options, and I have, as you know, presented some other options. I think some of them have been incorporated in, and I appreciate, again, really appreciate all the work that's going into this. I understand that I don't have the votes to push more cuts, and that's okay. And so I guess I don't want to, I'm not trying to prolong debate. And I just want to be clear about my message and concern about affordability, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't move forward and be able to move this package forward to be able to help our staff prepare for the budget that needs to be developed over the time. And that's where I'd like to, I'm supportive of moving forward now and working together to fine tune it as we go forward. I do feel that we need to find some additional, as we move that process forward and as we're fine tuning, I do feel that we need to try and find some additional places to cut. I think that's going to be critical, because this is just the first step in this process, right? We're going to be working, we're going to be voting on the actual property tax increases and bank capacity increases later this year. We're going to be voting on the budget later this year. And then we're still not done, right? I mean, then we're going to have to be going to the voters, going to our residents, asking them for more. And when we go to the voters and to ask them for more to be able to help fund our parks or other services, I want to make sure we're doing so in a position where our residents feel sure that we've done everything possible and we've made every cut possible before going to them to ask for more of their money. And so I think that as we're going through this process and as we're getting to the point of having to put things on the ballot and ask them for their support, there are some additional areas that we can work towards to make whatever reductions. Again, I've put some ideas forward. One that I think is critically important is figuring out how to reduce administrative costs through regionalization of services, through utilizing artificial intelligence, through figuring out, reducing cost, reducing work, project, allocations and figuring out workloads and things like that. I think there are some additional things that we can be doing and need to be doing as we're continuing to go through this process. So I support us moving forward tonight and look forward to continuing to work together to find some additional solutions.
All right, any other questions, comments, feedback? Looking up and down the dais, I see none. I will just end with my comment, which I won't add anything other than just to go back in time and remind people, just for a different perspective, I actually didn't think that we should have given you that money back, the bank capacity. I did not see this coming as the reason, but the rationale made sense that you were already paying that and you knew that the fire services were going to cost more no matter what. And so if we had added it on there, instead we had, as a council, and I do believe it went 7-0 because I didn't know I could just say no, and I didn't do that. I've gotten better in time, I think. I was on the RFA committee to bring us into that agreement, so I was fully aware of everything that we could be aware of at the time, except here we still are. That said, I will just leave it at, I had a very terrifying conversation yesterday, which I will just leave it nebulous that way and say that I left that conversation going, oh, okay, 6 million, okay, we can do this, because that number is drastically higher in other areas that are absolutely going to impact this city as well. And we'll let those stories unfold as they are. We'll stay focused on this one here, which is just my way of saying I point out that I thought we should have had not gone with any banked capacity and discharge, to say thank you to the FST that they came to that same realization. That we are just going to have to pay more. Everything is costing more, so we can't be surprised that it's going to be more expensive. And with that in mind, I will just leave it there and say if we have a moving forward theme, I would look and see if anybody wants to put a motion on the table about how to proceed as I'm done with my comments. You have Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to authorize city staff to move forward staff proposal number 1.
Proposal what?
1.
Thank you. It jargled at the end there. We have a motion on the table. Councilmember Doyle?
Second.
We have a second. Time for discussion. We had I was going to say, sounds like we've had a lot of discussion already, which means.
Oh, no.
Please.
Oh, thank you. Did you?
You had mentioned earlier the community development fees. And
I'm going to make an amendment. That way it's a little bit easier for my colleagues. You can either support my my additional thoughts or not, but I didn't want it to get in the way of the entire proposal if folks don't like the addition, because we have talked a little bit about, well, we've talked a lot about a lot of things. So I move to amend the motion to authorize city staff to proceed with staff proposal 1 to, I move to authorize staff to proceed with staff proposal 1 with the following changes. Remove the cut of Economic Development 2027 Partnership Professional Services in the amount of $50,000. Remove Parks 2027 service cut, lay off staff and associated vehicle, savings $110,077 for a total of $160,077. and add an increased fees for development services in the amount of $200,000 for an ending balance increase of $39,023 from what's proposed before us currently.
All right, you're going to test my skills
I
here.
can read it again if it's.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way I'm going to repeat that. Yes.
I can. I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen some blends.
Can I summarize now that I've said the whole thing?
Yes.
So essentially it is, so right now we have two cuts that I would remove, that I would say that we would strike as cuts. So they would stay in our budget. It's Economic Development 2027 Partnership for Professional Services and the amount of $50,000. And the Parks 2027 service cut that lays off staff and associated vehicle cost for a
Can I
saving.
pause you right there?
Yep.
So looking on screen, you got yours in front of you, for those at home, from Proposal 1, which row are you referring to? Because it doesn't go into the weeds.
So those are all part of the reduction, no. Yes, they
Of the
are all
general
in the
fund?
reduction of other general fund expenses.
That's what I thought. So folks following at home, the 445, 466 in 26-27 is the question of where we're removing cuts.
So
which
it would
means we're
reduce
keeping.
that number, $160,077. So we are removing proposed cuts.
Yes, to
from-
keep it, yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Now, please continue, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes.
Oh, we really needed that up. I mean, we have it on our screen, but folks in the audience will have no idea what we're talking about. Because from my take on it, your next move is to take from Proposal 2, the community development, 200,000, and move it over.
So, yeah, I was going to say, and then, yes, exactly. I was going to say now it's not in front of us, but I can pull it back up. Or it's coming. And so, correct, then the increased fees for community development that's part of staff proposal 2 would be included in staff proposal 1.
Perfect, thank you. Was there any other suggestions? Those are those.
Just those 3.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now we have the amendment. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
We have a second. So we would vote on the amendment now. So I'm going to call, unless there's discussion, not seeing any, we will call the vote to the amendment right now. So all in favor of the proposed changes or the amendment, if you will, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? One no. Any abstaining? No abstaining. So that is a 6-to-1 change of the amendments. So now the proposal is still on the table for Proposal 1, but it is Proposal 1 as amended, and I don't know if we have to repeat that.
No.
We do not, thank goodness.
Please
Can
don't.
say. So that said, we will still go through the protocol of if there's discussion, because that has already been motioned, seconded, and now amended and all that good stuff. And so I'm going to come back to discussion, because now you are talking about a blended Proposal 1.5, if you will, to cut in between the 1 and the 2. All right, not seeing any votes. I'm actually going to request a roll call vote on this one. And if you wouldn't mind, we'll go ahead and start. Oh, please. Oh, we have a question before we go there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember, during previous discussion, Councilmember Murray pointed out the recreation fees, and I think that that's still part of the ongoing discussion, as I understand. So that's where the fine tuning continues to be. But I do think there's opportunity there for us to be able to, again, utilize that as part of the way to help reduce future burdens by tapping that. So I just want to be clear that I do support that as we continue to look forward to the future. But otherwise, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Any other last minute discussion comments? Councilor Page.
You know, and on that, and thank you for mentioning that. And I also want to thank you, City Manager, because we did have quite a bit of discussion about, floating tier fees. And thank you for, digging into the weeds and giving us insight on the added cost that actually comes with, having those tiered fees, even though it sounds good, probably feels good to the people that are receiving it. But it defeats the purpose of what you're trying to do, increase revenue and save money, because it just doesn't work that way. So thank you for that.
All right. Oh, Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. No, I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem Wall's comment. And yes, I want to continue to have the conversation around recreation fees. I changed my amendments to the staff proposal one a little bit from what I had discussed at the meeting previously, given that it felt like there was a much more fine-tooth comb needed around some of those, but definitely support us continuing to engage in that conversation in a way that supports both the budget and access to those services for our community in particular.
So those, we discussed kind of the mechanisms depending on what happened tonight about how that would happen. For the Parks and the Recreation and Parks fees, we plan to bring those back to you within the next, I would say, no more than 6 weeks. And then again, on the normal schedule at the beginning of December, like we do every year for all the fee schedules. So.
All right. Any other comments, feedback, suggestions? All right. It brings us absolutely no joy to do this, but responsibility is rarely joyous. So with that in mind, we're going to do a roll call vote, and I'm going to request that we go from senior to youngest, if you will, newest to the council, and mayor, wherever I fall, I fall.
Wait, I can't do it alphabetical?
So we're going to go.
Not today.
Senior to senior. So that one, Laura, Yoko.
Oh, boy.
Aaron, yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Sonmore.
Yep. Yes.
With amendment. No.
Councilmember
Yeah, that's right. I think that's right.
Matsumoto Wright.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wall.
No.
Mayor Woodard.
Yes. All the way at the end.
Councilmember Murray.
Yes.
Councilmember Page.
Yes.
Councilmember Doyle.
Yes.
That's 5 yeses and 2 nos.
All right, so that is a motion passes with the expectation that we will continue this dialogue ongoing. I think I speak on behalf of the entire council, but once again say thank you to the Fiscal Sustainability Task Force. That's for those of you in the room, those of you watching this online, and again, your families looking back on this. You've all done a great service to this city, even though we're talking about cuts and raising prices and all that. This is probably one of the harder things we have to do as a nation. Let alone at this very localized level at the city. So thank you for that charge and having the courage to say what was on your mind. I also will speak just as your mayor to my council. Thank you all for very thoughtful conversations. We might not have all agreed on how we were going about this, but at the end, we all stayed focused on making sure this city is as healthy and thriving as possible, and this is a pathway in which to hopefully do that. Everything is always in the hopeful when I speak, and that's why I leave it in play here. That said, I'm very happy that we did not go to 10 o'clock because the decisions were going to be the same decisions an hour from now as they are right now. So with that in mind, we will move to the city manager's report, and actually, we will not move to the city manager's report. We will take a 5-minute break. So we'll come back at 9:05, please. Welcome back, everybody. We are going to move right into the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Just a couple things to mention tonight. As Councilmember Murray mentioned earlier, it's Economic Development Week and also Small Business Week, so we wanted to recognize that. But in addition, it is also Municipal Clerks Week. So we wanted to recognize Jennifer. She keeps us all on the right path, going in the right direction, and she drinks 2 triple shots a day. So we also all stay out of her way. Yeah, of coffee. So she, very thankful that Jennifer's here and helping us do our work. That's really all I had for the city manager's report this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments, feedback for the city manager? Seeing none, we will press forward into council liaison reports, and we're actually just going to work from my right to left so everybody knows when they go. We'll jump over me, of course, and end with mine. So that means we'll start with the Honorable Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just commenting, I didn't actually think I'd have to give my report tonight because I assumed that we would be so exhausted from conversation, it'd be so late that I wouldn't have to do this tonight. So I'm trying to think the last time we gave, it's been a while, right? I think it has.
Yeah, we go back to the 2nd of last month.
Thank you. Okay. No, that's okay. I'm going to fumble through this. I was going to say, we had some meetings. I mean, honestly, I don't think there was a ton. I don't have a ton on my calendar from the last month. We had some meetings that were great. We had Children's Day, which I always love. So I appreciated the fact that we had another opportunity to welcome youth into City Hall this year. And just a big thank you to staff and to our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission for all of their work there. We had a joint meeting, going back to the 15th of April, we had a joint meeting of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission and the Arts Advisory Commission, which I thought was an amazing opportunity to bring two of our commissions together to talk about opportunities for collaboration. So kudos to both of those groups, and excited to see what comes from that. They bounced around a lot of good ideas, and I'm excited to see kind of where those things go. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission has been working on a lot of upcoming events, and some that have already passed. We had the Celebrating AANHPI Month Festival over at Terrace Park here on Saturday, May 2nd, and that was just an absolutely phenomenal event. There was a huge turnout this year, which was really, really great to see. The entertainment was phenomenal. It was just, I will say, it's such a heartwarming event. And so just, again, big kudos to all those involved with putting that on. There was also a great Makers Market over here at City Hall, which I thought was great. It was nice to have multiple events going on in our community on the same beautiful Saturday. I got to see Victor and all sorts of other folks there. I had bought a wonderful gift for a friend, but just it was a really nice opportunity to see the potential of our community in so many spaces and people showing up in different ways. So I'm excited for hopefully more of that to continue. I think that, I take it back. Sorry, one more thing worth reporting on for sure. I don't want to miss out on the opportunity to talk about the Leadership Snohomish County Step Up Conference. That was on Friday, the 24th of April. And that was just, again, another phenomenal opportunity. Mountlake Terrace was well represented, and it was just a really, really good learning opportunity. They had different sessions and had some focused on self, some focused on community, some focused on kind of more like business and government organizations. And so there was, no matter what you were hoping to kind of expand your knowledge around, there was good opportunities. And I will say I took all sorts of wonderful notes that I don't have in front of me, but learned a lot and just appreciate, again, the opportunity for continuing to learn new ways to support both folks here at an individual level in our community, as well as to think more broadly about how we engage as a council and a city. And with that, I will stop talking. Thank you so much, Mayor.
You're welcome. The Honorable Councilmember Doyle.
Thank you, Mayor. Other than our meetings, I attended the ribbon cutting for Evergreen Bottle Shop on 58th. That was a fantastic event, and it's been fun to see Will and his family build their family business here. It's been pretty exciting. I had my one-on-one with City Manager Jeff Knighton on April 16th. I too attended the Step Up Conference in Linwood on April 24th. On the 25th, I volunteered at Arbor Day down at Lake Ballinger, and that was a lot of fun. People were picking up garbage and cutting blackberries and planting trees, and did lots of weeding, and it was fun to meet more residents that I hadn't met yet and spend some time down there, and it was a beautiful morning. On May 2nd, my kids and I went to the Making Local Market out here, and it was fantastic. It was so much fun, and my kids were so excited to, A, spend my money, which they did, and also just to have something just down the street to walk to. Like, it was just fun to be able to buy, my daughter bought a new purse. We went to some of the food trucks. It was great to just walk down the street and see so many people and be able to spend our time here and to spend our money here, because that's one of the problems we have as a city is a lot of us spend our money somewhere else. So it was great to be able to spend it here with local people. It was a lot of fun. That's the end of my report.
Thank you kindly. The Honorable Councilmember Page.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to start off with, I guess, on the 13th of April, I attended the African American Leaders Professional Network meeting, and it was important that I bring that up is because, representing our city and being in a city council position, after we did some introductions and things and we got an opportunity to network, there was a countless number of people that wanted to, leaders, in various other cities that wanted to talk to me, about how do we, based upon some of the things that we're doing here in the city, how do we get community engagement in their cities like we're developing it in our cities because of some of the things that we've talked about that we're doing. They've also wanted to know, how do I become because they don't know the process in their cities, how do I join a commission? How do I join a board? Some person said, hey, what do I need to do to potentially get on city council? And it was our presence there that allowed that type of questioning to happen. So that's what happens sometimes with some of these groups, just because of where we are and what we're doing, and being present in that space allows for those type of questions to come up. And so I'm grateful for being in this spot here. On the 22nd, I was at the ribbon cutting for the Roadrunner Express. I also attended the ribbon cutting for the bottle shop, but I didn't put the date down. On the 24th, Step Up. Like many of us, the city was well represented, and I think that was noted. For me, the biggest takeaway, for that affects this city was we couldn't leave at the end of the day without, because we all had our name tags, and on our name tags, on the back, we had to write, what will our call to action be in the next 30 days in our city, in our positions that we're in. And it was a gotcha, because you had to turn in your name tag to get all that stuff back to them, So it was a wonderful day, but for me, that was the biggest takeaway, because couldn't hide behind, visibility after the fact, and so that was that day. On the 25th, we did the Arborist Day. That was a lot of fun. I found a pond that I didn't know existed over in Ballinger Park. Once we got all the weeds out and the berries, there's a pond there. I was like, whoa, okay, all right, and a lot of other things in the pond. But it was, and then also I attended the annual NAACP benefit, and again, that was important to be there. We got an opportunity to share what we're doing in Mountlake Terrace with Senator Lovick and a few other elected officials that were there. And again, everyone talks about our community engagement. You just can't believe how many people talk to me about our community engagement versus their community engagement. So what we're doing is working. There's more to be done, but even much more, we have to find ways to make sure that others outside our city know what we're doing, okay, so that we can get ideas from them. And then on the 5th, on the 2nd, I attended the ANHPI event. That was it's just getting bigger and bigger, so kudos to our city, our DEI group, who makes those things happen. It's come a long way, and they have developed so much credibility and so much purpose, and people come to their things, that they put on because they matter, so thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As many of you know, I was dealing with many very difficult family issues, so I was checked out for most of April. but I did attend and chaired actually somehow the Snohomish County Tomorrow Steering Committee meeting on the April 22nd. We had a good discussion on the Regional Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, and so there's a lot of things that we can be doing as we're continuing to address implementing our comprehensive plan. A lot of that comprehensive plan is addressing climate change and how do we go about that, reducing the impact of us on the climate. And there are a lot of things that the county is also doing, and so which obviously we want to be coordinating our efforts in working with the county and their efforts on their climate action plan, the regional climate action plan. Also had a presentation from Lori Olson with HASCO, the Housing Authority of Snohomish County, and the challenges that we're addressing on housing. I kind of have mentioned that many times over the years, and of course we had a presentation recently from HASCO. But there's, I do want to reiterate once again the challenge that we have in meeting our affordability requirements and what we're trying to do in ensuring affordability or providing housing affordability in our community is very, very difficult to overcome, because the minimum that even affordable development projects or affordable developers are able to produce a unit for is $1,500 a month. And that is beyond the scope of what many of our residents are able to afford. And so it's trying to figure that challenge out is going to just continue to be an issue we need to work on and keep in mind. We also had a discussion about barriers to middle housing implementation and some of the challenges. So again, we recently adopted our middle housing code, but there are a lot of different challenges that we're seeing throughout the region in how that's being implemented and ensuring that we smooth that process out as much as possible, identify some of the barriers that those that are trying to develop middle housing in our communities throughout the region are facing, and figure out how we can address those. Then we also, let's see, on the next day, I had the operations committee with the Puget Sound Regional Council, and then the executive board meeting for the Puget Sound Regional Council, and had we had a discussion of the Housing Futures Center presentation, which was another thing that we've been working on at PSRC, working with the University of Washington now to help provide housing research to be able to develop and share more information on housing and the challenges we're dealing with housing. So it's another tool that we have available to us through PSRC and the University of Washington with the Housing Futures Project. We also recommended the biennial budget and work program and the regional transportation plan for our region, and I highlight that because hopefully everybody is aware and potentially able to attend our General Assembly on May 28th of this month. And we'll be voting on the regional transportation plan that's been worked on for a number of years now through PSRC and recommended at this meeting for adoption. But just to highlight, that is a $335 billion transportation plan for our region that gets us through 2050, of which 80% is already funded through current law. But that means 20% of $335 billion is not funded, and we need to identify and continue working on ways to fund the regional projects within the region, transportation projects within the region. The biggest area that is not funded is in local government projects. In other words, cities. Cities are the ones that have the biggest gap in being able to have identified funding for our local projects, like our Main Street, as an example. Other cities throughout the region are facing the same challenges that we are in ensuring that we have the funding to get us over the hump. So that is the recommendation. There's a lot of great strategies for how we're going to go about addressing this and providing transportation projects throughout the region. But there's also how we're going to prioritize that. And we'll hear more about that at the General Assembly, and we'll report more on that following the General Assembly for those of you that aren't able to join us. But those are, I guess, the highlights. Let's see, what was the other one? Oh, also, it was mentioned that the state, if you didn't know, the state has a housing task force, has created a housing task force coming out of this last legislature, because we're still statewide addressing housing challenges. They've put together another task force to help us look at funding options, and Executive Mello is one of the representatives on that task force. So he's currently our vice president of the Puget Sound Regional Council, but we're going to be working together with Executive Mello to ensure that our voices are shared on that task force. So if you have ideas or things that you want to be sure are addressed, let me know. I'd be happy to work with County Executive Mello from Pierce County, if you didn't know, to ensure that we're talking about some of the challenges we're facing here in Mountlake Terrace and in Snohomish County. So I think with that, I will leave it be. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Councilmember Sonmore.
Thank you, Mayor. And first, I just want to acknowledge some of the pain that our Councilmember Wall has gone through, and I'm just very sorry, and I just want to acknowledge that. With that being said, I'll go into the RPAC. We had a meeting and we talked about the platform at Ballinger's behind. I saw a beautiful picture of the platform posted on Facebook. We talked about the tennis court's lighting approval and the replacement of the lighting, the fencing, and the resurfacing later this summer on 2026. So in Evergreen, there's no fund for the turf and the fencing. And then the tree board, we didn't have any updates. We talked about the Ivy League that were out and about on Arbor Day. We talked about an off-leash dog park at Ballinger, the pros and cons. We talked about Bothell having a temporary dog park, and Ken really walked us through what works and a lot of it doesn't work. We talked about, of course, we saw that today with Firefighters Park selecting the playground equipment. And it was a really good conversation. I have to say, the people on the Parks Department, or RPAC, are just wonderful. And they talked about all the different details about vandalism and all different sorts of information. So that was a good conversation, and people felt heard at that meeting. We did talk a little bit about the park tour that we had, and Keith on our board said he really missed Ken's story and all the history that has gone with Ken leaving our city, which we saw today. Rose, after 34 years in the park. I've just seen her for many, many years, and it's sad to see her go, and I just wished her well in retirement. And we also talked about the Trash Panda that occurred on April 11th, and disc golf, having a volunteer cleanup at the park. We talked about the parking lot signs at City Hall and the limited parking. I don't know how that's working. I hope that's working well. And then there's just one other. We talked about the Melody Hill strip that we got from the light rail transition over there. And then I have to say, I also attended Left One with our mayor, and I did bring both of our cars into the new car wash. I didn't know how it would fit on that property, but it works somehow. And then I also wanted to say about transportation, you know, maybe when you're looking in at light rail, they had a certain tax, and I don't know if it was just for Seattle or not. And they're so short on the budget that that tax may not go away. So it's going to be really interesting to see how transportation goes. And the costs are astronomical, so it's going to be really interesting. Oh, the tax. Oh, good to know. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. And the Honorable Councilmember Matsumoto Wright.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll go back to April 7th, when for being on the board at the Community Transit, we had an orientation tour. And what that entails is to see everything behind the scenes at Community Transit. And that is seeing the buses being washed, seeing the buses being maintained, and all the different campuses that we're in. It's just an amazing thing. And it was just the three new board members, which is David Parshall with Linwood and Susan Payne with Edmonds and myself. So I learned a lot. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes just to get that bus to come down your street. So then on the 8th, I attended the Mountlake Terrace Academy when they were doing the Parks and Recs. And then on the 9th, I had my meeting with City Manager and Mayor Pro Tem. And then on the 10th, I attended the ribbon cutting for the Evergreen Bottle Shop. And it's nice to see new businesses come in. I'd like to see a whole lot more. On the 14th, I attended the ESAC annual meeting, the Economic Alliance of Snohomish County. And so many things going on in the county, and it's just amazing. The Snohomish County cities, oh, hold it, I'm going backwards here. Okay, again, at Community Transit, I attended an executive committee meeting, and then at Snohomish County cities, I think I might have been the only one there. I can't remember now, but they gave away the FIFA pin. So if you didn't go, you didn't get a FIFA pin. On the 22nd, I attended another ribbon cutting, this time for Roadrunner Car Wash. And then on the same day, I attended the beginning part of the Academy for Community Development. And on the 28th, I attended the Mountlake Terrace Chamber over at the Port of Subs. And it's a really great time to see and get to know some of the business people in the city. And on the 2nd of May, I attended at Terrace Park Elementary, the Celebration of Cultures with the AA and HPI. And that was full. It was a full house. It was just amazing. So hopefully we'll just continue that. I don't know if we can find a larger venue, but it's going to be a good problem to have. And then right after that, I attended the Makers Market and got things that I didn't need. It's a little ceramic house, about that big, with a little charm on top. Oh, well, no, I didn't have to stand in line for malasadas. So yes, and then ice cream. Yeah, I didn't need any of those. And on the 6th, I attended the, last night, I'm the chair, so I attended the AHA meeting, and the subject was cottages. And we're going to be coming to the city to figure out how we can get cottages into Mountlake Terrace. And what we're trying to do is to, again, for Mayor Pro Tem Walz, we're going to try to get all the cities to have a menu of cottage types, so that that's all pre-planned, pre-done, and that'll cut costs, and then have every city have the same streamlined permitting process just for cottages. And we're going to hopefully look at putting cottages in properties that are, if it's a tear-down house, you tear it down. Instead of putting a 3,000 square foot, $1.5 million house on that lot, you could put 3 to 5 cottages on that lot. And each cottage will be about $400,000. Hopefully. But that's one of the things that we're working on at AHA. And there wasn't much resistance from the cities and the planners, so hopefully we're going to try to get this thing through. Then earlier today, I attended the Community Transit Board meeting, and it was 30 minutes long. They promised that the next several will be longer, much, much longer, because we have a lot going on. We talked about the merger with Everett Transit and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of things going on in the future, but today, thank goodness, was only 30 minutes. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you kindly. And we'll round this out with mine. Friday, April 3rd, I participated in the Seashore Transportation Board, and I'm going to give Councilmember Murray credit because she showed up. We saw each other in the parking lot and went, "Why are you here?" to each other. And so I go back to the streets, if you will. But nonetheless, thank you for taking the time, because I forgot to tell you, I will be there. On the 9th, I did have my one-on-one with the city manager. And just want to remind us, I'd love to hear everybody say they've had a city manager meeting. So in our reports, if we're leaving that out, that might be why. But let's make sure we put in that we are or are not having our one-on-one city manager meeting. We talked about this back in the summer, and I don't know if you realize it, we are almost back to summer. We did hit May. So I was also at the ribbon cutting for the Evergreen Bottle Shop. Welcome to Mountlake Terrace. Thank you for choosing our business in which, or excuse me, our city in which to do business. On the 14th, I was at the Economic Alliance Snohomish County annual meeting in economic forecast. I thought that was very interesting, good information. Congratulations to all the award winners. That night, as you heard, I joined Councilmember Sonmore at our Left One meeting. And that's always just a powerful opportunity to be together. Wednesday the 15th, I was at Snohomish County Cities. Oh, no, this was the South Snohomish County Cities did meet. I think you all know that. The cities come together. Myself, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Manager tried to make it. This time it was over at Linwood City Hall. I actually had to duck out early because I could only do it in lunch hour, which is a longer story. But while I was there, were some good presentations, and I think it was just a good opportunity for the cities to come together and talk about, as Mayor Pro Tem said, how do we work together better, especially around solving fiscal gaps and shortfalls and all that. The 16th, that Thursday night, we had the night off from here, and it got filled up really quickly. I was invited down to the Greater Seattle Chinese Chamber of Commerce Lunar New Year celebration, and was treated as a dignitary, which was like, whoa, that's amazing, one of my great seats. But the real takeaway there is how many folks have already started to reach out from that group who actually live up here and want to have connections with the city specifically. So I'm working on connecting the city to a couple of those groups as we speak. And then there was a gap. No, somehow I go from the 16th to the 24th. So let's just presume there was a whole week gap. And on the 24th, I was at the Step Up Conference as well. I just want to say how proud I was of the city to have 2 tables there. Because it really, as I said, I had a moment at the mic, you know, we really are in a risk-taking era for people who want to speak up on concepts of justice and equity and inclusion, let alone the word diversity. I did that in reverse to make it harder for the AI to find this conversation. Because there will be repercussions, folks. We're laughing, but the reality is this is a real-world scenario, and you go to the conferences like this, you are absolutely on a list somewhere. So acknowledging that, and that this city isn't afraid to invest in those types of opportunities, more power to us. I did have the wonderful honor, that's what I was thinking, that's weird, there's a gap there, because I know there was a gap coming, and you've been hearing me do it, which is I didn't actually make it all the way through Step Up. I got about halfway through the fireside chat and realized something was tapping me on the shoulder, and I turned and it was a flu, and it punched me in the jaw. And I have been laid up ever since. I'm back on my feet now, not contagious, because I gave it to my wife. And so it personally left me, and now it's just with her, because that's how getting better works in those households, as people know. But I promise you I wouldn't have shown up, I would have been masked up. This cough is definitely one of those, geez, man, a new symptom every dang day. But that said, the 28th, we had in this very room a utility planning open house. I thought it was fabulous. So I just wanted to acknowledge that hard work And once again, just being transparent for our residents to come and learn about what their city is doing and why we're doing it. Later that night, I had the honor of going to Linwood High School for their family engagement night and served on a panel with a bunch of awesome activists around the county, and I'll just leave it there. The 30th, because I feel a cough coming on. There it is. Excuse me. The 30th, I had the opportunity, once again, we had that night off, so maybe we didn't have the 24th. Anyway, it doesn't matter. No, it was in the middle of the day, that's why. Thursday, the 30th, Building Blocks webinar. And I bring that up because they were talking about childcare, and it was a chance for us to point out what Mountlake Terrace has done, which is reminding us that we changed code, if I remember correctly, at least that's what I said into a microphone. We changed code to make sure that we could welcome in that new business that's sitting on the border there near Safeway, Linwood's Mountlake Terrace area. But this, it was a conversation about affordability around healthcare and around childcare, and it was just good to be able to be in the space, but also to share that, hey, cities are trying to do something. In the spirit of a blue moon, we swung back around and had another Seashore Transportation Board meeting. That one was interesting, but only in the spirit of, if you like, roundabouts. There are a lot of interesting roundabouts being created. The one that we're most aware of is down there in Shoreline. If you haven't had a chance to go visit it, I would say the west side needs some work, but the east side seems to flow very nicely in terms of just getting off the freeway and getting on the freeway. But nonetheless, there's some other stuff like that going on in Bothell if that's of interest to you. There's some really interesting improvements taking place. Rounding it out, I did have the honor on Saturday of attending both the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander gathering, as well as the Making Local Market. And the only thing I would add that I think people were talking about is what a wonderful example of a walkable city. The only piece I didn't hear us say that I'll put out there is we had Andrew go to both sites and co-populate and make sure that the people down here at Maker's Mark knew that it was happening up at Terrace Park and vice versa, and you genuinely saw people walking back and forth, myself and my grandson and son being among them, which is why I know it actually worked. So in that regard, it was, to everyone's point, it's a wonderful and vibrant Saturday in this beautiful destination city. Closing this out, on Sunday, we've been talking about new businesses. Well, we had another new business come into town, one that I wouldn't have thought of, and I got an invitation. Welcome to the community, Bethany Church North. So up on 220th, as you cross over, well, I guess it depends on which way you're going, but up on 220th at the 66th and 220th exit, there is a new church there. If you're heading west, it's on your right-hand side. Beautiful facility. I hope they invited all of us. I only saw my name, but I'm sure they would love to have any of us show up. Their first gathering was last Sunday, so it was their, kickoff, if you will. But it is a beautiful facility, and I would also just say, for no other reason, as a Mountlake Terrace resident, I realize I haven't been in all of our buildings. I've been so focused on making sure I've hit all of our streets, but I was amazed to see how big that building is, and they've just done a wonderful job with making it inviting. And those are new folks coming to our city now every Sunday, which is just an opportunity in and of itself. So welcome to the neighborhood, Bethany Church North. And then lastly, yesterday, I alluded to it already, we had a conversation with Councilmember Mead and his legislative aide, which was just a terrifying, wonderful, enlightening conversation. And I'll leave it at that to say, lastly, as I promised you last time we were together, I would complete my certificate of municipal leadership. And what I will tell you is bureaucracy will tell you I did not meet my goal, but Dr. Woodard would tell you I did meet my goal. They just haven't certified it. It's very frustrating because I actually did a bunch in the land and they just, nope, not yet, not yet. But I did the one they said you had to do, and then they just don't acknowledge that I did it. The good news out of that is when they do certify it, I will be well over the halfway mark to the advanced CML, which I will go ahead and close that out because it's actually been interesting. Something that I immediately read into was zombie properties. It was an old video, but zombie properties. It made me think about some of our issues here, which is just a reminder, even if you're not doing this for the certification, there's some really good webinars that they have out there that we should probably be looking at as we're going through all of these processes. So for nothing else, I applaud AWC for leaving that stuff out there for us to eventually find on our own, even though they're always pumping it. But I don't usually listen to things like that. So I'm proud of myself for finally paying attention. This council encouraged me to do so, quite frankly, and here we find ourselves. With that in mind, let's move to new business. Any new business? Really? Nobody has new business? You don't want another 19 minutes and we get to take another vote for? Okay, fine. No new business. And with that in mind, slow it. No, I'm kidding. We're adjourned.